Hello and welcome to Nature Talk News, brought to you by James, aka Hiker James, from the Sunshine State of Southwest Florida. Where there's nature, there's news. Welcome to Nature Talk News. This show has been broadcast on 6/24/2015. So we took it a little bit farther this week, and you might hear a little background noise, but what we decided was if it's about nature, it should be out in the nature. So we're outside. We have our portable studio devices out here, and we are pre-recording this show live outside. Pre-recording it live outside as you listen. Last week on the show, we kind of give everybody an idea what we was going to discuss on this podcast, and I was going through a lot of information this past week, and one of the things that kind of stuck out on me was how these people are treating the elephants. An elephant is ruthlessly killed for its ivory tusk roughly every 15 minutes. That's the only thing they use the elephant for, is to take its tusk off of it. And China and the United States has been selling ivory tusk figurines and things like that for a long time, and kind of wanting to put a stop to that. It's not a good thing. I mean, a lot of people will go out there and they'll shoot a wolf or a fox or whatever, and just to have a taxidermist fix it up to where they can set it up in their living room. People go out and shoot bears just for the bear skin. Where these animals gonna one of these days they're gonna be extinct. Everybody's gonna have a bearskin rug or a ivory figurine. There's a male Asian elephant named Kaushik that can imitate human speech, matching Korean speech format frequencies in such details that Korean native speakers can readily understand and transcribe the imitations. They're not only non-human species, they are the only non-human species known to mourn their dead. Researchers have documented many instances of death rituals at which elephants will soberly visit the bones of other dead elephants. They've got a human-like mind, and just because they're big and clumsy, and there's a use for them somewhere, and it's not to be just for the ivory. And the old saying, an elephant never forgets. It's amazing what they can remember. The researchers showed that an elephant can keep track up to 30 herd mates at a time. Now you take a family of 7 or 8. Where's little Johnny at? I don't know. But the elephant can take up to 30 mates at a time, and elephant memories are far in advance of anything other animals have been known to have. They have expressing complex thoughts, such as warning others of danger, reconciling differences, and communicating needs and desires using a system of visual and acoustic signals. Amazingly, recent discoveries show that most vocal calls are at a frequency that humans can't even hear. These animals communicate, because you take any animal out there, whether it be a rabbit, a raccoon, a fox, a deer, whatever, and they teach their young, after they're born, they teach their young to know right from wrong and danger from safety and things like that. And you often wonder, how do they do that? You take a dog or a cat, and they pretty much know what you're saying, and you pretty much know what they're saying. You live with one, and you get to know it and understand its actions, things like that. I could see where they might have also some kind of a frequency that they use that we can't hear, because they can warn you of things. I know a dog, I've had a few of them. If there's a noise, they start barking. If somebody comes into the house, they start barking. You ever notice if you own a cat that they do the same thing? If they hear a noise, they run and hide. If somebody comes in the house, they run and hide. best watch cat you can ever get, because if your cat disappears, you know there's some kind of danger. Crickets. Now, I don't know how much everybody knows about crickets. Crickets make the best watchdogs there are. If you go out and you sit outside and you start hearing crickets, if you get up and start moving around, them crickets will stop chirping. And this is their way of expressing danger. So if you go outside and the crickets stop chirping, there's something going on. Now, this happened quite a few times, and it's amazing what kind of different animals and creatures out there that if you observe them enough and if you're around them enough, that you can tell what kind of warnings that they have. Whether it's the barking, the loud barking of a dog, or the silence of a cricket. You need to understand what type of warnings that they have so you can listen for it. And it's just amazing that animals and insects and things have that ability. Okay, for better side of news, there is I've seen this picture of Harley Mitchell holding up this long grass carp up to his chest. A 17-year-old high school student in Virginia may have landed the largest grass carp in America last month from Rural Retreat Lake. Unfortunately, it is a potential record that will never be documented, as Harley Mitchell lacked a scale to weigh the fish on and decided to release the carp shortly after catching it. According to the Department of Public Information, Michael was fishing with his friend in the 90-acre lake when he hooked a 4.5-foot grass carp. Grass carp are strong fighters, and Michael said it took a good 25 minutes before he could bring massive fish on board in a small boat. We measured it from the tip of the snout to the fork of the tail, the angler said, indicating that the fish was an eye-opening 52.2 inches in length. Lee alone is a poor way to gauge this fish against other record carp, but if Michael's measurements are accurate, that means his carp is the longest ever caught in the United States. According to landbigfish.com, the largest grass carp caught in the country was a 71-pound, 11.4-ounce fish caught from a lake in West Virginia. That fish only measured 50.75 inches long. The International Game Fish Association lists the world record as a 87-pound, 10-ounce fish caught in Bulgaria. Grass carp are not natives to Wythe County or anywhere in the United States for that matter. The fish is originally from Eastern Asia and was introduced by wildlife officials for their ability to control undesirable vegetation. Unlike their more notorious Asian carp counterparts, grass carp requires a specific breeding condition and are vegetarian. They can also eat up to 3 times their body weight each day, making them a very efficient in clearing weeds. All right. Mr. Mitchell cast over the weekend serves as a perfect reminder as to why so many people choose to vacation at Wythe County's Rural Retreat Lake and Campground. That would be something to catch the world record fish and measure it and turn it loose and then find out it was a world record. Wow. Now, here's another one, an interesting little story about a father socks bear in the face after it drags teen from a hammock. Yes, it sure did. A backcountry encounter with a bear before the campers were able to drive it off. When Greg Alexander saw a black bear dragging his 16-year-old son off a hammock, he reacted the only way he knew how, by climbing on the bear and using its face as a punching bag. Officials say Alexander and his son Gabriel were camping in the backcountry of Great Smoky Mountain National Park on Sunday when the bear rolled into their campsite. The bear immediately went after the teen and seemed intent on dragging him away, at least until his father intervened. I just had to get the bear off of him. I think I kicked the bear a couple times and it didn't seem to have any effect, so I just jumped on him and started punching it in the face, he said. That seemed to do the trick and the bear backed off. Alexander continued to drive it away by throwing rocks at the animal and then helped his son hike 5 miles back to the lakeshore where other campers had assembled. There, a few friendly backpackers gave the pair a ride across the lake on their boat, and the teen was eventually airlifted to a local hospital. The young man received multiple injuries, including lacerations to the head. He remained conscious throughout the incident, and he's in stable condition at this time. So that was pretty interesting. I've seen an article here a few weeks ago where a guy had a bear come up on his property and he was going to attack his dog. And this guy, I don't remember exactly all the details on it, but the guy was like 70-something years old, and he was a former Marine, and he went out there and seen that bear getting ready to attack his dog, and he said that's not going to happen. He went up there, ran up to the bear, and just started punching him in the face, and the bear left. So, now that was on the news, and it was so comical, the expression on this guy's face. When he was telling the story, he was all smiles about it, and he said, I had to protect my dog. So that was an interesting story. Maybe I can look that up sometime and give you all the details on it. Okay, have you ever heard of a crawling fish? Climbing perch can live outside the water due to a set of lungs next to their gills. It may not look like much, but Australian biologists are growing increasingly worried that the invasive fish species named whatever, Anubis testinitis, or climbing perch, will soon invade their waters. Climbing perch are one of the few fish species that can actually migrate between two bodies of water over land. They do this by using specialized spines on their gills to drag themselves across the ground. In addition to being highly aggressive and robust, climbing perch are also extremely adaptable. The species has been documented to survive days outside of water, can hibernate in mud for up to 6 months, swim freely in briny waters, and even kill predators by flexing their powerful gills in their throats of birds and predatory fish. Individually, climbing perch are a menace. In large numbers, however, experts say the fish could devastate Australia's native species, according to ABC News. Scientists have been monitoring the spread of climbing perch from their native range in India and China to Indonesia and Papua New Guinea, and eventually to the Torres Strait just north of Australia. From there, only a small leap remains before the fish reach the Australian mainland. Wow, walking fish. Well, crawling fish anyway. I hope I never have one trying to chase me down. That reminds me of the guy that he thought he had caught a certain fish, and when he pulled it up out of the water and he went to stick his thumb into his mouth, to get the hooks out, he realized that it had teeth, and he was kind of surprised because in the area where he was at, that he said that if he hadn't noticed those teeth, he probably would have bit his thumb off or pretty much mangled it up. So just be careful when you're out there fishing, because things are changing and the species are going in different directions and things, and you never know what you're going to pull out of that water when you're fishing. Okay, then we had a story about an angler who rescued a deer stranded half a mile offshore on Lake Winnebago. Matt Van and Josh Kruger, they ventured out onto Wisconsin's Lake Winnebago last week. They expected to land some fish, not a deer. According to Fox 11, the two anglers were shocked when they discovered a doe trying to paddle her way back to land about half a mile from the shore. Because deer are good swimmers, but only to a certain extent. The two men saw that the doe was struggling to stay afloat in the 16 foot of water, decided to give her a helping hand. It was a stressful situation, but we knew we had to do something, said Kruger. The doe was too large to bring onto the boat, so the anglers initially attempted to guide her back to shore. Unfortunately, despite their best efforts, the stubborn deer insisted on wading deeper into the lake. The next attempt was far more unorthodox. With Kruger driving, Van came alongside the deer and grappled the wet animal, essentially locking it in a bear hug. I could just see them getting flipped over in that boat. The anglers then drove back to shallow water with Van holding the doe the entire way. Fighting the current and the speed of the boat, holding on to the large deer, it was pretty stressful on the arms, he said. I just wanted to make sure that we had it on the video so we could share the video, because I don't know if people would have believed us if they hadn't seen the video. So there is a video out there somewhere. The anglers let the animal go when they neared shore, and it was able to swim the rest of the way on its own. It was ultimately a tiring yet rewarding experience for both men. Said they were glad to have helped out, even if it meant catching fewer fish. Kind of gave up on their little fishing there a little bit. All right, other boating news. The grizzly bear charges hunters in a raft. Wow, this was a good story. This was on a video too, and I watched that. The two bow hunters were floating down an Alaskan river when they happened upon a group of 3 grizzly bear cubs. The mood of the hunters instantly changed when they saw the bears, because cubs are never far from their mother. Sure enough, the mother grizzly spotted the hunters and immediately started to charge them. The hunting guide, who instinctively pulled out his revolver and fired at the water in front of the charging bear, never got between a mother grizzly and her cubs. Never get between a mother grizzly and her cubs. All right. Yeah, that little video, it was like, wow, these little cubs was starting to walk out into the river there, and the guys was shooing them back onto the shore. Go back, get back. Well, the mother heard this yelling and carrying on, and I guess she thought that they was trying to attack the little cubs, and she took off charging into the water, and she got within, I think it was 8 feet of the boaters when the guy decided to pull his gun out and shoot it into the water to scare that bear off. Sure enough, that bear turned around and went right back to the shore to continue protecting her cubs. All right. Well, I don't know if some of this other news that I have might not be as interesting, but we have some news here in Florida about the Florida Panthers, protected species. and they're talking about taking them off of the protective species list, or the endangered list. Florida panthers are prowling the state's swamps, ranchlands, and forests in numbers not seen in at least a half a century. They're prowling the state swamps, ranchlands, and forests. Okay, that says now the State Wildlife Commission plans to discuss whether to seek the panther's removal from the federal endangered species list in action certain to generate intense debating. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting story. The panther is the state animal, and they're going to get a lot of feedback from landowners, environmentalists, and residents of panther habitat. The panther is one of the original 14 mammals named to the endangered species list in 1967. Has rebounded sharply from a low of just 20 or 30 south and west of Lake Okeechobee. Today, an estimated 150 to 250 of them stalk deer, hogs, and other prey in southwest Florida, with adventurous males ranging in central and northern Florida. An endangered species means a species that needs to be under critical care, like in the emergency room. Panthers no longer, in my view, need critical care. Nick Wiley, Executive Director, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Okay, I don't know. A record number of panthers hit by cars and trucks. Hostility has risen as well. Several panthers have been shot, including one rescued last year in Collier County after being blinded by a shotgun blast to the face. When panthers are hit by cars, some hunters cheer. News on Facebook. Local elected officials intent on approving development in panther habitat claim it's not a distinct species from its western cousin, the mountain lion or cougar. Nick Wiley, Executive Director of the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, said he will propose seeking a relaxation of unrealistic federal criteria so panthers could be removed from the list and management turned over to state of Florida. The commission, a 7-member board appointed by the governor, plans to discuss issues at its June 23rd meeting in Sarasota. A lot of people feel that the only way to save an endangered species is to keep it on the endangered species list as long as you can, he said. I respectfully disagree with that. An endangered species means a species that needs to be under critical care, like in the emergency room. Panthers are no longer, in my view, need critical care. Free of federal restrictions, he said, Florida could focus more on the critical issues of panthers' interactions with people. Many landowners don't want an endangered species on their property because it would impede development or otherwise alter the landscape. Although there has never been a confirmed attack by a panther on a human being, Wiley said the state wants the authority to kill panthers that become persistent problems. There's a lot of talk about success, but we're still talking about one of the most endangered species on the planet. Jennifer Hecker, Director of Natural Resources Policies, the Conservancy of Southwest Florida. If we have a panther that comes into the neighborhood and really becomes a nuisance, we don't have a lot we can do, he said. We can scare it, bring in dogs to run it up a tree, but there may even be a need to euthanize a cat if it loses its fear of people or does a lot of the depredation of pets or livestock. I mean, we're stuck on that word there. But environmentalists say a large panther population does not justify stripping the species of federal protection. Their single, isolated population remains vulnerable to disease, fire, and other catastrophic events, they say. And their habitat continues to be lost to houses and shopping centers. Okay, I'm having a little trouble out here with this outdoor program because the wind keeps trying to blow my pages away. So bear with me. Um, in the area where I'm at, there is a panther that disappeared, and they don't know where it went. They tag a lot of panthers, and so they can keep track of it. Well, they found one with a tag. Now, I have a trail cam picture of a panther with his ear tagged. And what they do is catch them and put that tag on them and then let them go. And whenever they're tracking them, and when they see one, they note where it was at and what direction it was going. Well, the one here in our area, where we have seen it, was less than I would say 800 feet from our house, and there's a little trail there. And now they say that they've spotted it, and I didn't catch where it was they spotted it, but they said it was coming back to this location, and it has 3 cubs with it. So apparently the panther went up, I don't know what direction, let's say he went north or east, whatever, and had her babies, and now that the babies are old enough to travel, she's bringing them back towards her locations, toward her area. So that's kind of awesome, because you might be able to get a good view of the babies not too long from now. And the panthers, they say, haven't never attacked any humans that they can know of, but now that she's got 3 little baby cubs with her, you never know. But we would like to get a few pictures of them, just like the fox that we have here. They've got a den not very far from here. I'd say within 300 to 400 feet. I never could catch the exact spot where it's at, but I always see them going into the same spot of the woods. So the mom and dad fox, it was just a couple weeks ago that they brought out their little cub, their little baby fox, and we got a chance to see it 2 times now. They would bring it out into the opening where we could, actually get pictures of it, and we do. We have some pictures of that cub, and it's only it's weaned. I don't know how long that takes, but they're out there training that little one for survival. We hear some baby raccoons chattering in the woods at night. We've counted up to as much as 5 raccoons in the yard here at one time. If you're wondering, we live in the country. I mean, it's off track, off beat. The Interstate I-75 that runs not very far from here, maybe 1/8 of a mile, maybe not that far. You probably hear the traffic in the background. A lot of noise coming off of the interstate, but from there on, I mean, we're completely surrounded by woods all 4 directions. So it's not uncommon for any kind of animal to just walk around in the yard. We've had deer lay down in the yard 80 feet from us and take a nap. So these 5 raccoons that we've seen, that we know there is that many, I think they have some babies out there in the woods because of the little high-pitched chattering that we hear. A lot different than the grown-up. We got some little baby rabbits. We got some big rabbits. I seen a little baby rabbit yesterday. Well, that's all we have time for this week. So we hope you join us again next week. And this is James, a.k.a. Hiker James, on Nature Talk News.